they don't think.
So tell me about this big oil spill. Somebody explain what happened, when that was, and everything.
March 11th, I think it was. I think it was March 11th.
Of this year.
Of this year.
Oh, so it's recent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody left a valve open on one of those tanks, and it drained.
One of their workers.
One of their workers, yeah. Which they tried to blame it on us.
Did they?
Yeah.
There was a police investigation. It was found that it was one of their workers.
And I think ultimately one of their workers did admit to it.
Yeah.
But initially, I know when the kids came up here from that other teacher sending them, they tried to tell those kids that it was a crime scene because one of the neighbors got desperate, and that's what people do when things aren't going their way.
My mother-in-law came up the street to let our dog out, and she saw some guy flagging people down in the middle of the road. She said it was a younger guy. I can't speak to who it was. I assume it's one of the people that work on the lease up there. She said he was covered in oil, everything else, and my mother-in-law said, I heard there's an oil spill up here. And he says, what oil spill?
Yeah, I don't know anything
he's
about that.
He's standing in the road, flagging people down, not letting them up the road, and he's covered in oil.
What oil spill?
What oil spill? You know.
Oh, it smelled.
Well, then it came
so
out
awful.
later. Yeah, it smelled.
It was all down the creek.
Yeah, it comes right
and
down.
And they tried
the
to say it didn't get very far, but you could see, I don't know if you noticed that overgrown pond down at the cemetery.
Yeah.
It used to be a beautiful duck pond.
Yeah.
And then it turned into wetland, so DEP wouldn't let them do anything with it. They have to leave it alone, and that's why it doesn't look like a pretty pond anymore. It looks like a swamp.
Yeah.
All the oil got down into there.
And further,
I'm sure,
Rushed
yeah. I
down
mean, people
into
said...
a main creek.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
people saw it, smelled it.
Their last containment
Downhill.
was upstream.
Right.
We documented it over the weekend. I actually called DEP and said there's oil down in the duck pond and down at the cemetery.
Was it just a sheen or was it a lot?
Oh no! It wasn't a sheet. It was a ball, this yellow crude sludge.
You've been watching CNN?
Oh yeah,
it was a little bit like that.
Yeah, because a sheen. Yeah, you could have one drip of oil and make a really big sheen.
But it was
this was a huge globbed up. And it was all down in there. And I said, this is below your last containment area. And I called DEP on it. They did not respond to it. So I questioned them why they didn't respond to it, and I called our township, and within a half an hour, our township responded, got to the people that were the cleanup crew, had them down, cleaning all that up.
They have been
Township
the most
really
useful to us.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And
That's
initially, I didn't feel like that was going to happen. Initially, they kept saying things that made me feel like they were just totally not on our side and they weren't going to help. And we just kept pushing. Every single township meeting, 40 of us would show up and sit there and ask questions. And, we arranged other meetings with them separately, not just at the township. And we had different politicians come. I mean, we just kept pushing. And for whatever reason, whether they just got sick of us or whether they actually started to realize this is actually a big problem, but for whatever reason, they have really stepped up.
They did not want to deal with it at first.
They've been the only people to help us, I feel.
Yeah. But, I mean, they did finally step up to the plate, and they finally took off with it and ran with it. They are, trying to shut them down. Again, we're just applying the law here.
Right.
That's all we're doing. And it's up to the township to apply the law for zoning. And now it's costing the township quite a bit of money during this process. As they win, and if, in the end, they will recoup this money from the driller. So it's in their best interest to win now.
Who did the cleanup down here in the cemetery? Or did anyone?
I don't know.
The driller hired a company.
I don't know.
I forget what the company was. Yeah, the driller paid for it.
Do you know how they cleaned it up?
They were putting booms out, and they were collecting it that way in pads.
And I know they trucked out soil. Was it like 20 tons or something? It was some ridiculous amount.
I don't know. They scooped a lot out of there. I don't know what they did down there in the wetland area. I think that all just got slipped through the cracks because that should have been treated a whole lot different than anywhere else.
Oh, yeah.
That should have been treated something different, but it sounds, from my understanding, they probably just went down there, scooped it all up, and, mopped it up, and then
and not very long ago,
but you can
one
see
of
the
neighbors,
cattails are dead right down in that area.
I'm just going to say, not very long ago, when I say several months, maybe 3 months ago. No, that's not true. Probably more like 2 months ago. One of the neighbors went down and he still could see oil, that, mucky stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Still.
I wouldn't be surprised because I'm sure it's still washing down the creek and getting down there.
And when you drive up there, it
Catches in
smells
the-
so
It's going
bad.
somewhere.
It smelled like natural gas this way when I went up there.
Natural gas or oil?
It smelled like
It smells
if
like
I leave the stove on,
Oh.
which I always assumed that was I was always told
Over by
that
the
they
loading
put a
rack.
scent in there.
yeah.
Right.
Over by the loading rack.
So they're actually putting the scent in here somewhere, right in that
I
process.
don't know.
Because it's supposed to be odorless.
I'm not
Right.
sure. Yeah, it's supposed to be
That's right.
I can
odorless.
smell it,
That's right.
and that doesn't smell like gasoline
Yeah.
or oil or
No.
it's not that sweet.
How far up did you drive? Did you see the big oil tanks?
Yeah, on my way
Did you
back
smell
by the
anything
second
up
time.
there? Because
Right
sometimes
by
when
where
I
that guy
drive
was
up there,
burning.
I don't. And other times,
I
oh my
smelled it.
gosh, it just...
Like I stopped. I don't even remember why I stopped. I stopped to like look around, and I smelled, and then I looked over down that way because I didn't see it coming, going this way. I went by it; it was behind the trees, and then coming back, I was like, "Well, that's what I smell."
Now that I think, yeah, they do add an odorant to it,
So that you know if
so
it's
you
leaking
know
in your
that it's
house.
leaking. But that's processed dry gas.
Yes.
So what you're smelling is the gas that's probably coming out of the wells. A lot of these are vented right now, so all the well, there could be odors coming out of the actual wells, out of the ground.
Mhm.
Now that's that wet gas, so you're going to smell the other components in there.
Yeah.
I think. So, but yeah, supposedly the natural gas you don't have an odor, but I think with the wet
not
gas,
just natural
it's
gas.
it's
Yeah.
more components in there before it gets processed out.
Are you guys sportsmen? I saw the big deer
Yes.
picture. Have you noticed anything in wildlife? I mean, just in your backyards here. Have you
Yes.
noticed any change?
My husband found frogs up on the hill behind our house that
I
have
read
no
that
back
the other
legs.
How big are they? Are they live?
We have pictures. We didn't keep it. It
You
was
did
alive,
pictures?
yeah. We have pictures. But like the one was like this, and he had no back legs.
Like the size of a 50-cent piece?
Mm-hmm.
We had
Other than that, yeah, I mean,
we had a groundhog out in the backyard just acting wacky and just not right. And later to find out it had drowned out in there's a little old swimming hole back there.
You found it down there right there?
Yeah, but we saw it in the backyard. Just
Left it alone?
it wasn't acting right. It seemed, I'm not a veterinarian, but physically it looked okay, but it just looked like its thought process and it like a neurological issue. It just couldn't.
It was twitchy.
Yeah, it was just, it wasn't right. And then again, later on, it
Yeah.
couldn't, navigate around the pond or whatever. So, but
How about, are there any fishable bodies of water, big streams down that way?
Way down?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have that.
I
Not sure
wouldn't
whether
know anything
anybody's
about
having
it.
any issues.
I think it's weird the number of... You weren't the only one to have animals lose their fur.
Yeah.
You weren't the only one to have, and I know that the dog was a little bit older.
Yeah.
But across the street, their dog died.
Yeah. Our
Your dog
passed
died.
away within like
I
a week of
mean,
that one. Who knows?
Yeah, you can't prove it, but it just seems...
Yeah, I found out later on that another neighbor, their dog started losing all its hair and, and having issues and trying to get it checked out. Nobody can explain it.
Mhm.
So it's more widespread. And I think if we actually sat down and, talked and had like a sheet of paper saying what are all our health issues, I think we'd be really surprised and shocked to find out we're having a lot of the similar things. A lot of people are really hesitant to talk about, personal issues and stuff
Mhm.
like that. But nonetheless, things are happening that were not happening prior,
That's right.
and they're just going unexplained. So,
Mhm.
I've questioned DEP. I've given them all the information that I have, but bottom line, it's on your shoulders now, and it's your deal. Fight it and figure it out. If you come up with some kind of answer, then maybe somebody will do something. But yeah, the burden placed on the homeowner is just unreal, and it should never be that way. So.
No. Well, if there's anything anybody else wants to add, that'd be the time to do it.
Actually, I'm going to excuse myself and get back to work. So,
See you, Steve.
Yep.
Steve, thank you very
Yep.
much, man.
thank
Good luck with everything.
Yeah.
See you guys.
See you,
Thanks.
Steve. No, I think all of our contamination problems were just right along with Steve there, other than the fact of the free gas that we had in our well, and we actually spent 3 months in a hotel because of it. Of course, they paid for it all, but it was still a huge inconvenience.
Huge.
I mean, living in a hotel room for
Did
3
they-
months.
Is that all they offered? Did you ask for You know,
Oh
can you
no,
find
they
us
paid
apartment
for our
somewhere?
meals. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we said, you know, this doesn't work.
We're not
What
a
can we do? Well, and we got nowhere.
we're not a couple of college kids who can deal with that. Right?
Right.
You have kids, right?
Right. Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
And has anyone else on the street been evacuated, so to speak?
Nah.
No, not
Sorry,
by
no.
someone, but voluntarily, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, we've had the fire department up here how many times?
Oh, several times.
And that
we've
one
had
night it was really bad, and I
Does
know.
it smell?
Yes, just gas everywhere.
gas.
Just smell like you wouldn't want to light a cigarette.
Like your whole, like you walk in your house and it just. I remember that day that I mean, we've had the fire department here many times, but the big one. I remember I walked into the house and it just overcame me, and I was so frustrated and just so sick of it. You're just so sick, and the fear when you're driving, like you don't even want to come home from work,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
so sad because
And
you're.
that's part of that.
You know, but
whole
you're coming home
stress
from work
level.
and you're thinking, is it going to be bad? And is my house even going to be there? And
Mhm.
and I know every time I drive up here and I see my house, I'm like, okay, whew,
Yeah.
that's one thing I'm happy about. And then I walk in the house, and if the air is good, it's like, whew. And that day I walked in, it was awful. And I just thought, I don't even want my animals sitting in this. So I couldn't take the cats. But I grabbed the dog and I went out walking. And by the time I got back, there was a fire truck there. Because
And
one of the other
what do
neighbors.
the firefighters say when they get here? Are they?
Well, they.
They first ask, are they volunteers?
Yes.
Yes.
So they're not, specialists. Or, not to downplay the role of volunteer firefighters.
I don't
but
know anything about their training.
I
maybe
don't
when they
even
come
know.
here, they like, why are they clueless? Or
I don't think so.
I don't
no.
think they're clueless.
No.
I mean, they figure, well, it's coming from the people.
And I think
Drilling
they're
for gas up
sympathetic.
there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they smell it.
Yeah.
And I think that they are sympathetic, but what can they do? They have these meters, and you're
They have
standing
them.
outside, so it's not like it's registering the same as in your house.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
and
I've seen studies that that especially in urban areas that the inside air is worse than the outside
right.
air.
So I think,
'Cause it
bless their
collects.
hearts, they show up every time, and I think they do the best they can.
Yes, they will, and
But-
they have said that they'll come every time we call.
And what do they do? What
They'll
kind of-
come and assess the situation and take their little meter and go through your home if it's because of a home, which we've had them twice at our home.
and they come in and said, "Don't light a match."
Well, the only ones that have told us not to light a match would be the DEP, and they actually told us long ago, back in early '09, they suggested they wouldn't light any candles or smoke in the house, and they wouldn't be outside having a bonfire
I
or
mean, can you
burning
imagine
garbage.
that? You're not allowed to light a
Right.
candle in your home.
I know. I like to have bonfires
I
in my
mean,
backyard.
yeah, this is what we do on weekends. This is Hedgehog Lane. That's all
And this
we...
is- yeah.
I mean...
You
And
enjoy the
and
sounds
that's okay.
and the view, and
like that doesn't sound ridiculous coming
And
out of your
that's-
mouth. That's
and
acceptable.
like you keep saying, make it right. But I mean, there's
Right.
when it were to finally come down to it and say, okay, the gas company's like, we were wrong. We're gonna make everything right. How do you put dollars on? Well, I can't have a bonfire.
Right.
Or, light a scented
Or
candle.
you never want your family to come over. I never
Right.
ever have my family come over that I don't think to myself, I feel guilty. Like I didn't
Stink.
have a room for them to sleep in because it's so loud at my house. Now this thing is shut down. It's
We
different.
can't
But
have
at
a
the time,
backyard picnic. It's gonna
you
stink.
can't have a picnic. You can't do anything without feeling like like these people don't really want to be there, even though they love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or giving them showers. I remember my nephews came up to visit, and we took them to another person's house to take a bath. And it's just, it's
Yeah.
your home.
And my wife's
How is
family.
this okay?
My wife's family just stayed here over Memorial Day weekend, the weekend after Memorial Day.